I have never felt that sick in my life. But let's kind of talk about what happened and what led to me making this video. Hey there, Ruthie here, and welcome back to my channel. About a week ago, I was one of the many millions of Americans who caught COVID during the month of December. I'm pretty sure if you survived December 2021 without catching COVID, you should go buy a lottery ticket. While I'm still recovering and also have nothing better to do in quarantine, I figured I would share with you all kind of my experience, what happened, different symptoms that I experienced, as well as how we kind of handled it in our household, and just give you a little preview in case you have a loved one going through this, you are going through this, or you're just really curious how my last week has gone, because let's just say it was a fun one. If you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Ruthie. I am a mom of two little kids. I have a 1.5-year-old and a 3.5-year-old daughter, and I am married, and I live with my family in a house. And usually I don't sound like this, but this is just one of the many symptoms that I am still dealing with. Both my husband and I are fully vaccinated, and he's actually gotten his booster. So here's the timeline of how things went down. I woke up Monday, December 27th, feeling great. I had the day off work and was planning to tackle all kinds of things throughout the house. I mean, a full-time working mom with two little kids, I had a whole bunch of things I had to get done, and so Monday was my day to tackle as much as I could off my to-do list, and one of those things was to get my booster shot that evening. And all day Monday, I felt totally fine, like no symptoms, nothing whatsoever. That evening, around 6 o'clock, I went and got my booster shot. Yay for me. And as I was getting ready for bed, my husband was asking, do I feel any symptoms? I will say that for the first two COVID shots, I didn't feel great. The first one, I mostly had a headache and a sore arm. The second one, I definitely felt like chills and flu-like symptoms. I didn't have a fever, but I didn't feel great. But both times, it only lasted for 24 hours, and then I was back to normal. So Monday night, a few hours after my shot, my arm was starting to get sore, but my throat kind of had a tickle, like it was kind of scratchy. He immediately said that that is not a side effect of the shot. However, I was like, oh, it's probably fine. I feel like maybe I talked a lot over the weekend. It'll be fine. My husband woke up at like 5 a.m. on Tuesday morning and asked me how I was feeling, and I was definitely starting to feel the side effects. Like my body ached and I wasn't feeling good and my head hurt, and I could tell that this was going to be a rough 24 hours, but my throat was still really bothering me. At that point, he immediately jumped out of bed and said, I'm going to leave the bedroom, I'm going to go sleep on the couch. And the reason is because the sore throat is the most common symptom with Omicron, the variant of coronavirus. So he decided he was going to leave, but I still felt like it was just the booster and I was going to be fine on Wednesday. All day Tuesday just got worse. Like, I have never felt that sick in my life. I had a 102.5 fever, which I know for some people isn't very high, but my body tends to never get fevers. Like, even the slightest fever, I feel pretty terrible because I don't typically get fevers. And so to me, to have such a high fever, I felt terrible. Every part of my body ached. Like, just getting up from bed and going to walk to the bathroom felt like a marathon. Besides like flu-like symptoms, the main things I also had was my sore throat, and then I was extremely nauseous. Like, I couldn't eat anything. My husband brought me a bowl of cereal, which I usually love, and took a bite and was like, nope, can't eat any of this. And as we get closer to 24 hours after I got my booster, I'm still feeling pretty crummy. And so we decided to do an at-home COVID test kit, and that one was negative. So on Tuesday, it was negative. But since my throat was still hurting, I was still feeling pretty crummy 24 hours after the shot. My husband decided to sleep in our guest room that night, and all day Tuesday, I didn't leave the room at all. Wednesday morning, I woke up and I was definitely better. Like, my fever was gone, I had a little bit more energy, but I just still felt pretty sick. Like, I felt, you know, like a cold. I was pale. I wasn't feeling great. At this point, I did post to social media saying how terrible I feel from the booster shot and kind of sharing with folks why I haven't been around. And one of my friends immediately said, you might actually have COVID, because many people who react so poorly to the booster ended up actually testing positive for COVID. So hearing that again, I decided, okay, let's take another test. So midday Wednesday around noon, we went ahead and tested me again. And at that point, it shot up positive right away. I mean, if you've taken any of the at-home test kits, you usually have to wait about 15 minutes. No, this was like immediately you're positive. And my husband and I found ourselves with a positive case in our household with no backup plan. We never talked about it. We didn't say, oh, if this happened in our house, what would we do? Now we had to figure it all out. And Wednesday, I did get a new symptom, which was the runny nose. And I think that's why I tested positive, is there was finally enough in my nose. And it was definitely running a lot. So I was definitely congested. Now, I was still feeling better relative to Tuesday, where like the booster really screwed me up. But I was still kind of run down and sick. And this is where I have been since then. I am filming this Sunday evening and I am still in quarantine. Yep. Since at this point I was still the only one showing symptoms, we made the decision to go ahead and have me quarantined. That was our first thing. And so I have been in our master bedroom since then. Whenever I need anything like food, water, color pencils, whatever it might be, my husband will go ahead and leave it on a tray right in front of our master bedroom. He will then leave. I'll put on my mask and I'll grab that stuff and bring it inside. Also, whenever I have dirty dishes, I will put it on the tray and he will clean it up. And that's really been our way of passing things back and forth, I guess. So then on Thursday, I felt the worst, like the second worst. So Tuesday was definitely the worst, but Thursday was the second worst day for me. And that's where like my cough kicked in. I also have asthma, which was like a big concern for us with COVID. And so that's when a lot of my asthma type of symptoms kicked in. Usually it's very under control, but really I've just had to kind of take my inhaler. I would say in general, I've reacted to this very much as like a pretty bad cold, maybe flu, like somewhere in between those. And then I had on and off fevers on Wednesday, but by Thursday I had no more fever. So I wouldn't say fever was a strong symptom of mine. I would say definitely the body aches and chills and just being really run down, my throat hurting, nasal congestion and things like that. And then the cough, which kind of kicks in later. And then on Friday, my asthma was slightly worse. So we did call the doctor and they just told me to monitor my oxygen. If you have things like an Apple Watch, it actually can check your O2. And so I would wear that and periodically check that. That really helped me. The other thing they said is to try to sleep as elevated as you can. It kind of helps things not build up, apparently can prevent pneumonia. They also told me to try to take 10 deep breaths every hour and hold it. So you like breathe in for 2, hold for 2, breathe out for 2. Different things to kind of prevent longer term lung issues. Today is day 5 in quarantine. As you can see, I needed to count. And I can't believe I have been in this room for 5 full days. So I'm going to share a little bit about what my symptoms are and how I'm feeling. As you can tell, my voice is worse. It actually was fine in the beginning, and then I think as the cold goes on, it gets worse. So my voice is worse. My nose is definitely getting better. In the beginning, that was kind of one of the first things, is the nose dripping and things like that. So that's getting better, which is good. My sinuses don't hurt anymore. My ears are less sensitive. So I think I am starting to feel better. At least I have more energy and things like that. But I will say my cough is starting to get more dry, and I'm still sick. And it sucks. But the hardest part is definitely the mental part of it. I haven't seen my kids in like 5 days, and not like planned as if I was on a business trip or anything like that. Like I'm right here. I can hear them playing. Ellie will go down the stairs and ask her dad and say, "Where's my mommy?" And it just like breaks my heart hearing her say that. I have been doing more FaceTime with them. And when I do, she's always like, "Mom, are you coming home soon? Do I get to see you soon? Are you going to tuck me in?" So she fully gets it. She just thinks I am away and not that I'm actually just here upstairs. But I think that's the hardest part. And yesterday was the first time we FaceTimed with Sam. I'm just worried that at his age, he might get too sad. And he was so sad and crying when we were talking. I think it's very much the mental game of being cooped up in one place that I cannot leave at all, but also just like not seeing my kids. My husband has had to do absolutely everything, plus take care of me, so like bring me food because I just can't leave my room. He's also had to pick up everything. He has basically been a single parent this whole time. We're fortunate enough that we have a nanny who comes during the day and helps him, but you know, he still has to wake up at night and wake up in the morning and put them to bed every night and then do all the dishes and the cooking and the cleaning and just like all the house stuff. So I am so grateful for him. I really appreciate all he's doing, and I just like cannot thank him enough. That is definitely the time that I was starting to get bored out of quarantine. Up until this point, I think I was just so sick, so run down, that I was kind of okay lounging around. But by Saturday, I was starting to get bored. I was starting to look what to do. I got a bunch of new books to read, but the space was really starting to get to me. I was originally hoping to get out of quarantine on Sunday, but I think we're gonna try to test me tomorrow, and if I'm negative, then maybe I can get out of here. And the main reason I've still been quarantined is because, knock on wood, so far I have been the only person that has had symptoms. My husband has had a few rapid tests done and he's been negative all through those, and so I figured, let me kind of stay in quarantine as long as possible, and then tomorrow will test me and then I'll get out. And of course, before we go to anywhere else, we will have the whole family tested and make sure everyone is negative. Today, as you can tell, I think I have much more energy. My voice is still a little raspy. I have a cough, which I think is gonna linger, but overall I feel pretty good. Like I could definitely do things. It's just like a mild cold at this point. My husband and I made the decision that as long as I was feeling better and tested negative 2 days in a row, I can get out of my quarantine, or 10 days had passed since the first onset of symptoms. And that was a decision that we made of kind of how to get me out of quarantine. So on Monday, I woke up feeling much better. I still had a lingering cough, but other than that, I feel like I was pretty back to normal. And so I was really hopeful that I would be able to get out of quarantine. Unfortunately, yesterday I tested positive with an at-home test kit, and I will tell you, it really was like mentally very difficult. I mean, up until now I've been dealing more with the actual sickness. Yes, I was missing my kids, but towards the weekend, the mental toll of being locked in one room, not being able to leave, not being able to get anything for myself, and just not having any kind of human contact was really starting to get to me. Yes, I would FaceTime my kids, but I would hear them crying next door. I would hear them asking where I was, and I just couldn't be there for them. Like I couldn't hug them, couldn't hold them. Like that part has been the most difficult part of being in quarantine. And so yesterday, when I still tested positive, I got really discouraged. I ended up choosing to take a day off from work, and I think it was really good for me because like the mental toll of all of this has been by far the most difficult part. It just gave me the space and time to focus and center myself. Today, I made the decision to go ahead and go back to work since I was feeling better. Also, I was getting sick of being cooped up, so I needed something to keep my day going. But most importantly, I chose to kind of come in and share what my experience has been like. In my day-to-day job, I actually manage a fairly large department, and people often look to me for leadership. And so being there for my team and letting them know, hey, it's okay for you to have the space. Look what happened to me. Here's the toll it took on me, and here's what I did. And I think it has really helped me to come back as a much better boss to all of them and just bring in more empathy to my day-to-day. And today I've officially tested negative with the at-home test kit, and I cannot tell you how happy I am, how motivated I am, how excited I am for that. Now, as I mentioned, we wanted 2 days in a row, so tomorrow morning I will test again. And if that test is negative, I get out. I get to leave jail. Can't wait to hug my children, to hug my husband, get outside, see the sun. I want to thank everyone that has reached out and been so supportive. I really appreciate every single text, call, check-in, FaceTime, you name it, I've gotten it, and I appreciate you all for it. If you or a loved one is going through this, I'm really sorry, and hang in there. One of the things I would recommend for folks is definitely continue to reach out. People will definitely appreciate that. My kind neighbor dropped off a bunch of books and like some chocolate and just a handwritten note, and that meant the world to me. Just doing those little acts of human kindness, I think, will make a big difference. We hope that me quarantining like this will ensure that maybe the rest of our family doesn't have to get sick, especially with us having such small children. But that's kind of what it's been like. Anyway, this is a very different video than usual, but I just wanted to give you an update. I hope that after this, I can return back to my normal posting schedule. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more like motherhood content, not coronavirus content. And I'll see you at my next one. Bye.